2 a.m. Caracas, Venezuela, January 3rd, 2026. The sky explodes.
Very controversial attack by the United States in Venezuela, an extraction of the president of that country.
A large part of his security team were killed by U.S. soldiers within hours.
In the wealthy hillside neighborhoods of Altamira and Chacao, residents are startled from their sleep. Car alarms begin wailing across the city. Dogs bark in every direction. And then comes the sound that will define this night, the deep, rhythmic thudding of military helicopters approaching from the Caribbean. 7 massive detonations rock the Venezuelan capital in rapid succession. Orange fireballs rise into the night sky, illuminating the sprawling city of 5 million people. The ground shakes like an earthquake. Windows shatter in buildings miles from the impact zones. And overhead, the silhouettes of American helicopters, dozens of them, cross the moonlit sky in tight formation. The most elite special operations unit in the world has just descended on Venezuela's largest military base. And 3 hours later, the unthinkable happens. President Donald Trump posts a message to Truth Social that will reshape the entire Western Hemisphere.
Because this is not an invasion. We didn't occupy a country. This was an arrest operation. This was a law enforcement operation.
Nicolas Maduro, the socialist strongman who has ruled Venezuela for over a decade, the man with a $50 million American bounty on his head, the leader Washington has called one of the world's most dangerous narco-terrorists, has been captured, seized by Delta Force, America's most secretive special operations unit, flown out of the country along with his wife, Celia Flores. This is the largest American military operation in Latin America since the invasion of Panama in 1989. This is the moment everything changes. And it happened tonight. At approximately 2 a.m. local time, residents across Caracas were jolted awake by what many initially thought was thunder rolling across the mountains. But the skies were clear, the stars were visible, and the sounds kept coming, growing louder, more violent, more terrifying. The whole ground shook. This is horrible. We heard explosions and planes in the distance. We felt like the air was hitting us. I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life. She wasn't alone in her terror. Across Caracas, residents flooded onto balconies and into streets, capturing footage on their phones of what appeared to be a city under full military siege. At least 7 major explosions were confirmed across the Venezuelan capital within the first 30 minutes. But these weren't random acts of destruction. Analysis of the strike patterns reveals something far more calculated and precise. These were surgical strikes, precision-guided weapons, designed to decapitate Venezuela's entire military command structure in a single devastating night. Target 1, Fuerte Tiuna. This is Venezuela's largest and most important military complex. Situated in the southern part of Caracas, Fuerte Tiuna houses the headquarters of the Venezuelan Army, the Ministry of Defense, and critically, the residential quarters where President Maduro was known to stay when in the capital. Tonight, the base was struck with overwhelming force. Massive fires erupted across multiple buildings within the complex. The nerve center of the Venezuelan military was neutralized in minutes. Whatever defensive plans existed, they never had a chance to be executed. Target 2, La Carlota Air Base. Located in the eastern part of Caracas, La Carlota is a military airfield that sits almost in the geographic center of the city. This is where Venezuelan Air Force assets are stationed: fighter jets, transport aircraft, attack helicopters. Any chance of Venezuelan fighters scrambling to intercept the incoming American forces was eliminated in the opening moments of the operation. Smoke was seen rising from hangars and the main runway. La Carlota was neutralized before Venezuelan pilots could even reach their aircraft. Target 3, La Guaira Harbor. Venezuela's main port, located on the Caribbean coast just north of Caracas. Geolocation analysis of social media footage confirms a direct hit on a warehouse facility at the port. This facility was reportedly linked to the drug trafficking operations that the Trump administration cited as justification for military action. Additional strikes were reported at Higuerote Airport, a secondary airfield east of Caracas, and military installations on Isla Margarita, Venezuela's famous resort island that also hosts significant military bases. Witnesses across Caracas captured extraordinary footage of American military helicopters flying low over the burning city. The aircraft have been identified by military analysts as MH-47 Chinooks, the heavy-lift tandem rotor helicopters that serve as the workhorses of America's Special Operations Aviation Fleet. But these weren't standard Army Chinooks. These were the specially modified aircraft of the 161st Special Operations Aviation Regiment, based at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, known by their legendary nickname, the Night Stalkers. Their motto is simple: Night Stalkers don't quit. Their unofficial creed: we never leave an operator behind. The most skilled helicopter pilots in the world, flying the most advanced rotary wing aircraft ever built. Behind the Chinooks came the gunships, attack helicopters identified by military analysts as AH-1Z Vipers from the Marine Corps, were filmed engaging ground targets with rockets and cannon fire. Tracer rounds streaked through the night sky like deadly fireflies. Explosions blossomed wherever the rockets found their marks. Fuerte Tiuna was being systematically dismantled from the air while ground forces closed in on the primary objective. And inside those Chinooks, on those helicopters descending through the smoke and chaos into the heart of Caracas, Delta Force, the most feared special operations unit on the planet, and the unit that CBS News confirmed executed the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Officially known as the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, this unit was created in 1977 by Colonel Charles Beckwith. Modeled after the British SAS, Delta Force was designed to be America's premier counterterrorism unit, a surgical instrument capable of impossible missions. Since then, these operators have executed America's most sensitive missions across the globe. Many remain classified decades later. Suppression of enemy air defenses. Before any helicopter could safely approach Caracas, Venezuelan air defenses had to be eliminated. Venezuela operates Russian-made S-300 surface-to-air missile systems, sophisticated weapons capable of shooting down aircraft at ranges exceeding 100 miles. Strike packages launched from the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group, positioned approximately 380 miles offshore in the Caribbean Sea. Air assault. With Venezuelan air defenses suppressed, the helicopters moved in. MH-47G Chinooks from the 160 SOAR lifted off from staging areas, possibly from the deck of the USS Iwo Jima or from forward operating bases in Puerto Rico. These aircraft carried Delta operators toward their primary objective. Escorting them were attack helicopters providing devastating fire support. As the Night Stalkers approached Caracas, the gunships engaged targets of opportunity, eliminating any threats before the transport helicopters reached Fuerte Tiuna. Extraction. Delta operators fast-roped from hovering Chinooks onto the grounds of the military complex. In conditions of absolute chaos, buildings burning around them, explosions echoing across the base, Venezuelan defenders disoriented and overwhelmed, the operators moved with lethal precision toward their objective: Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. The details of what happened in those critical minutes may never be fully declassified. What we know is the outcome. At 5:14 a.m. Eastern Time, President Trump posted to Truth Social, "The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today at 11 a.m. at Mar-a-Lago." The New York Times, citing administration officials, reported 0 American casualties during the entire operation. Nicolas Maduro, after 12 years in power, after surviving a disputed election, after weathering years of American sanctions, had been captured in a single night. But the Venezuelan government's response told its own revealing story. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez appeared on video calling for resistance against what he called the worst aggression ever suffered by Venezuela. He ordered all armed forces deployed. He invoked Maduro's name repeatedly. But critically, he never confirmed where Maduro actually was. He never said the president was safe. He never denied the capture had occurred. Then came Vice President Delcy Rodriguez with an even more telling response. She appeared on Venezuelan state television with a stunning public demand, proof of life. She asked on national television for the United States to prove that President Maduro was still alive. Think about that for a moment. The Vice President of Venezuela going on television asking a foreign government to prove her own president is alive. That's not the response of a government that knows where its leader is. That's the response of a government in chaos. This operation didn't emerge from nowhere. It was the culmination of a 4-month pressure campaign unprecedented in modern American foreign policy. The first American strike on Venezuelan soil. A CIA drone hits a dock facility allegedly used for loading drug boats. The line is crossed. And on January 3rd, Donald Trump proved he was willing to cross it all the way. So who exactly is the man American special operators captured tonight? Nicolas Maduro Moros, 62 years old, president of Venezuela since 2013. Former bus driver turned union organizer turned socialist revolutionary. And according to the United States Department of Justice, one of the world's most dangerous narco-terrorists. In March 2020, federal prosecutors unveiled a sweeping indictment. The charges were explosive: narco-terrorism, conspiracy to import cocaine into the United States, possession of machine guns, and destructive devices. The DOJ alleged Maduro personally led a criminal organization called the Cartel de los Soles, the Cartel of the Suns, named for the sun insignias worn by Venezuelan generals. Prosecutors claim Maduro and his inner circle collaborated with Colombian FARC rebels to traffic thousands of kilos of cocaine through Venezuela and into American cities. The DEA says they've seized 30 tons of cocaine directly linked to Maduro and his associates. The bounty grew steadily. $15 million, then $25 million, and in August 2025, $50 million, the largest in American history. Then came the legal designations that made tonight's operation possible. November 2025, Cartel de los Soles labeled a foreign terrorist organization. December 17th, the entire Maduro regime designated a foreign terrorist organization. The United States had officially classified the government of Venezuela as a terrorist entity. The legal architecture for military action was complete. Just 48 hours before the bombs fell, Maduro appeared on Venezuelan television offering to negotiate. If they want oil from Venezuela, Venezuela is ready for U.S. investments, wherever they want, whenever they want. The offer came too late. The operation was already authorized. Delta Force was already rehearsing the mission. The capture sent immediate shockwaves across the globe. Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego, a Marine Corps combat veteran, posted 2 words: "This war is illegal." Russia's foreign ministry called it an act of armed aggression. But Argentina's President Javier Milei celebrated "Long live freedom." Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize winner, is expected to play a central role in any transition government. So what happens now? Trump's press conference at 11 a.m. will provide answers. If Maduro is in U.S. custody, he faces trial in Manhattan on narco-terrorism charges carrying life sentences. Venezuela faces a power vacuum. And then there's the prize: 300 billion barrels of oil, the world's largest reserves. With Maduro gone, American companies may finally gain access. Manuel Noriega spent decades in prison. 37 years later, history repeats. Delta Force, the Night Stalkers, 15,000 troops, 4 months of pressure, one $50 million target. 3 weeks ago, Trump warned, if he plays tough, it'll be the last time he's ever able to play tough. Tonight, he collected on that promise. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. This is Core Military, and this is just the beginning.